Hello and welcome to Bend the Knee, a Song of Ice and Fire podcast. I am Sir Matt, the Bud Knight.
And I am Ser Ezra, the Watchful, and we are back, my friends, with some House of the Dragon prequel news. Sir Matt?
Yeah, this is pretty interesting, actually. So there have been two new cast members announced. Is it Alcock and Emily Carey? And it looks like they are going to be playing younger versions of Princess Rhaenyra and Alicent Hightower. And I'll really say both of them, when you look at the pictures side by side of them next to Emma Darcy and Olivia Cook, it's like, wow, they really look just like them, especially I think Emily Carey, right, who's the younger Alicent Hightower. I mean, her next to Olivia Cook, I mean, they look like they could be like sisters. So really cool. And what this means, though, is one of the biggest sort of question about House of the Dragon isn't how is it going to end, because we sort of know how it's going to end, but where are they going to start? Because there's such a big time gap between when some of this stuff starts and some of these there's a lot of big moving parts. So Game of Thrones didn't really do that many sort of younger visions or just flashbacks, right? I mean, really the only sort of flashback I can think of, Bran saw a couple in his quick little memories. We had a couple of dreams, but really the only one that I can think of that was like a drawn out scene was Cersei. Remember Cersei and Maggie and the Frog? That was a little more drawn out, as sort of a full flashback type of a scene. So that was interesting. But to have these here is really cool, because that means we know we're going to be getting a lot of these flashbacks of stuff that happens, because so much of this, it's like it takes the beginning to the Dance of the Dragons, you could say, is like a 14-year period roughly. I mean, it's pretty long, right? Because if Viserys' wife dies and the choosing of who's going to be the successor, and so much of that happens. It might even be longer. I just off the top of my head, I don't know the exact period, but it's a pretty lengthy period of time. We're waiting for some of these events to happen. So it's just cool to see that obviously if they're casting these two people and it's like a bigger announcement, leads me to believe that it's at least in the first season, which is really where you would only need it. I can sort of imagine that it's going to be at least some part of a focal point of this first season, giving us some backstory as to where we are and how we got there. That's really cool, and that also causes me to think that I think we're starting a lot closer, right, to maybe King. This leads me to think Viserys might only make it one season, right?
Sure.
King Viserys, maybe you go that Ned Stark route where he dies like second to last episode type of thing and serves as the catalyst.
I like that. You build him up. From Fire and Blood, we know that he's a likable guy, and he has this dynamic with his brother. You have to kind of build up what's going on there with Rhaenyra, and then he eventually will marry Alicent Hightower. So I feel like once you might jump us right into that whole mix, right? Like you're saying, with our adult actors, boom, we're right into the blacks and the greens and maybe some of what's going on. But to help us understand where we're at, you bring in some of these younger actors, and you can flash back to, well, who is Alicent Hightower? I won't be surprised at all if there is an old man laying in a bed dying, King Jaehaerys, and a young Alicent walks in, is kneeling by his bedside, taking care of him or whatever, and that's the representation of the old king, and someone's doing a voiceover, or one of the older actors is talking about Alicent Hightower, and then you show us. There might be very minimal speaking roles for these younger actors, but they're just there, and we're seeing them interacting in King's Landing. She comes to the Otto Hightower has been around for a while, Hand of the King, and comes to court. So we need to understand who she is. Her relationship is very conspicuous, right, with the old king, and Jaehaerys thinking at some point in time that was maybe one of his daughters, or was she? What type of companion was she? There's Mushroom and all the dirty rumors running around about Alicent.
Who's still yet to be cast.
Yet to be cast, yeah, exactly. So to me, I really like this because we wondered how you were going to do some of that. And the fact that they just threw out these two younger actors for our main leads is huge. And now you have a lot of room because all you have to do is take the actor for Viserys, who's much older, or even Otto Hightower, and you just have to kind of de-age them a little bit or make them look a little younger, maybe.
I think the way you go, because if you look at the actor who's playing him, and I'm blanking on his name right now, but I can get it pulled up. I think actually they're going to make him look older than he currently is. Yeah, and that would be cool. And so that's a nice thing to kind of it's a nice way to show us the passage of time, keep us connected to these two young girls who grew up and will go to war against one another. Because you can do the same thing even with Daemon being the younger brother. You can make Matt Smith either look a lot younger or age him up a bit, but you have some wiggle room there with those guys. So yeah. Patty Considine is the actor.
Yeah.
He's been in a bunch of shows that I myself haven't really watched, but I mean, people know who he is. Yeah.
So I like that. I think, because the big thing is we're trying to get to, you have to understand why the succession is not working. Like why is there a precedent set where in which Viserys was chosen over Rhaenys Targaryen, and why is it that now when he kind of names his daughter to be heir, it's controversial because of this council from 101 AC. Well, to give context to that, someone who would understand that council would be Alicent Hightower, Otto Hightower, who were there during the time when Viserys was named king, and they could explain, like, this is a precedent that was set by Viserys' grandfather, and so we have to keep with that precedent. And we were kind of at a loss for how do you do that in a TV show unless you cast younger actors and you
right.
show us some of that. So
so it's super cool, and it's just nice to know, because I mean, this is one of those castings where you pick characters that were like, oh, I mean, this, a lot of times it's like, hey, you're going to pick this person, okay, we're going to see them sort of whatever, we don't, it's but these are characters where we're like, okay, this specifically tells us about something we're going to see flashbacks. It's pretty obvious, and that can sort of, I think, moves up the timeline a little bit from where we thought it might start.
Yeah, for sure. I also want to give a quick, this is kind of hilarious. These are two really young actresses who've been cast, and their social medias are just blowing up or whatever. I go to search.
Sure, yeah.
They're going crazy, right? So I go to search these two, and the first thing that I find for Emily Carey is like her TikTok, where she has the backdrop of, like, I think it's a Variety article or something like that, and it's announcing these new castings, and it's her just like mind blown, and the followers are just going up like crazy.
Oh, I'm sure it's just like exploding right now.
It's so cool and good for them. I think this is awesome, and it's a good opportunity for them. And I mean, geez, you and I know, Game of Thrones, it's huge. It's world.
Huge.
I mean, this is
it's like look at all the cast members of Game of Thrones. Like, I mean, the majority of them, especially the really young ones like Sophie Turner and Macy Williams and stuff like that, who were in like nothing right before Game of Thrones and where they're at now. It's like Macy Williams like wanted to get into acting because she's like, I want to buy like a laptop. She's like, I want to you know what I mean? It's like so it's just crazy. Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah, for sure. So. All right, friends, let us know what you think, down below about these castings. Are they cool? What kind of opportunities does this give us, I guess, in House of the Dragon with the prequels, some flashbacks, what have you. Leave us a comment down below. Please remember to like and subscribe. And Fire and Blood.